Hey guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing the next part for What If the Z Fighters train with Goku. Now let's get going. With the likes of Tien and Yamcha having defeated Cell in the last part with the power of fusion, the two are having to wait around while their fusion time does go down. They also want to get some energy back. After all, using the Kaioken times 20 in a fused state probably still does quite a good chunk of damage to their bodies. With them choosing to search for the androids after a day's rest, with them knowing that this will also bring Vegeta, Trunks and Nappa out of the time chamber, it will give them a bit more firepower. Now after this day, Vegeta, Trunks and Nappa do leave the time chamber. They all come out a lot stronger, also having found the grade 4 state of Super Saiyan. Vegeta comes out of the time chamber with a base power level of 14.4 bil. Following along behind that in his Super Saiyan is 720 bil. Nappa straggling behind is at a power level of 12 bil in base and 600 bil in Super Saiyan. Trunks is just behind Vegeta with a power level of 14 bil, and in Super Saiyan that's a power level of 700 bil. With them coming out, everyone notices that Vegeta almost seems to be a lot nicer. However, it's soon made clear that he hasn't changed a lot. From his time in the time chamber, he immediately makes distance from Trunks and Nappa. However, Trunks and Nappa show a very good connection, with the two laughing with one another as they leave, with the two having clearly gotten close. Now, with the three coming out, they notice that the likes of the humans are back, with Vegeta saying how it looks like the weaklings' plan didn't work, and they had to come back to hide from the big bag androids. With Tien smirking looking at Vegeta saying how they actually dealt with a threat much bigger than the androids. With Trunks confused by this, the likes of Yamcha explains what little information they knew about Cell. With Nappa being impressed from what they can make out, this creature was incredibly strong and they managed to defeat it. This makes Nappa interested on how they managed to do it, with Tien explaining the idea of fusion very vaguely, with Vegeta confident that his power is beyond that fusion thing, whatever it was, and he tells them to fuse right now so he can put them in his place. However, Tien goes on to explain how there is no need to do this, and also it's not the time. If they fuse now, they'll have to wait an hour for them to be able to refuse to fight the androids, and Tien does think to himself, as much as he would like to put Vegeta in his place, it's just not the time. The prince has gotten pretty big for his boots recently, and Tien wants to make sure he understands that the Earthlings shouldn't be underestimated. But Tien understands that they need to save that power for later. With the likes of Tien and Yamcha heading off to find the androids, Vegeta rockets off looking for them as well, exclaiming he will find them and destroy them. And following along this, Trunks flies off after his father, apologising to everyone before flying off. Now, Nappa sticks around a little bit to check on the likes of Goku. He isn't particularly close to Goku, however, he does have a bit of a soft spot for the Saiyan who gave him a second chance of life, with him explaining something to the group. Well, maybe it might not be a bad idea for you guys to head into the time chamber. It will help Kakarot get better faster, and then he can get to training a bit faster. However, it is intense in there, so at least make sure he is okay before fully closing the doors. Alongside that, you should go ahead and master the Super Saiyan state. It took us a while to figure it out, but start trying to treat the form as if it was your base. But I'm sure Kakarot already had that idea. Raditz, you need to get stronger. I hate to say this, but Vegeta's been saying some scary things, and unfortunately I believe he might follow through with at least one of them. I can't understand why he isn't adjusting to this new life. Everything on Earth is beautiful, and I know I didn't show that when I first arrived, but this is part of my life, and that part of my life I wish to forget. I love everything this planet has to offer, but I guess Vegeta is having a hard time when people around him keep getting stronger and showing far greater power than he has. At first it was Kakarot and the Earthlings, with the others getting stronger around them, and even now the Earthlings are sometimes ahead of him, and they all have the power to stop him, but the straw that broke the camel's back was the revival of Raditz. Vegeta never said it, but I always noticed, over the years he would make sure how strong Raditz was, and when Raditz started to catch up with him, he trained harder and harder, and I think the worst part is he's incredibly angry that Raditz, someone who was always been below him, has caught up and even surpassed him at some points. And that's probably why he has a lot of anger directed at you, Raditz, and for that I apologize. With this being said, Nappa drops his quite serious bravado and goes back to his goofy personality, flying off catching up with the likes of Tien and Yamcha. With Nappa having a normal goof around with these two, he starts annoying Tien to try show off the fusion form. Tien finding this to be a lot more light-hearted than what Vegeta was doing, and the three have a laugh with one another, with Tien and Yamcha quite liking Nappa. Now back on the lookout, everyone there is taking in what was just said to them, with Raditz understanding to a small degree what Vegeta is going through. You remember what it felt like when he trained on Earth when he first came here, feeling everyone around him catch up in such a short time, but he also doesn't understand why it bothers Vegeta so much. With these moments being shared, Gohan and Raditz convince Chi-Chi to let Goku go into the time chamber to make sure that they can stop Vegeta if need be. However, they don't believe he would do anything. With the three heading in, they first wait to see how Goku reacts to the change, and for a second he has a bit of a moment, but after that he's fine. With him getting laid in the bed, both Raditz and Gohan get to training, and after a few short days, Goku joins them, with the two happy to see the Saiyan back up. Now outside the chamber, on the lookout, we see Chi-Chi, Krillin and Kame. Krillin has been spending his time making sure that his wife is okay, always sensing out around Kame house, and to make sure nothing happens near there. He does understand it's pointless as the android can't be detected like this, but he continues to do it for the sake of his mind. While Chi-Chi waits patiently by the door, hoping her husband to come out any time now and just hug her. Kame, on the other hand, is waiting around feeling useless. Everyone around him is sort of out of his league, and he wishes he could help even more, but for now all we can do is sort of try and follow along with what's happening. Everyone who left the lookout searching for the androids right now, they are unable to find them, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, what are the androids up to? Well, they did show up at Goku's house, and then Kame's house, but haven't found any of the Z fighters. The closest they have gotten is Chaozu, who doesn't really fight anymore, and also they don't want to fight Chaozu. Everyone likes Chaozu, but they do find something interesting. Some blue lady they've no data on. 16 learns a little bit about her, and then takes the time to point out that the woman is in fact pregnant. Whether 16 can do this, I don't know. It's just a bit of fun. With this making Snake blush and look surprised, this has every member at Kame House having a quick celebration, but soon the presence of the androids stops this, with the androids then coming to the idea of heading up to Kame's lookout. However, they steal Roshi's car and take the most scenic route they can. They stop by a mall, and to give 16 a bit of a, cheer up, they stop at a zoo just to let him play around. They don't really break any laws. The most they do is sort of steal something and don't pay for the zoo pass. Nothing major. They don't even really hurt anyone. And this leads to them wasting a lot of time, wasting a whole day in fact. And this leads to the Z fighters having an impossible time finding them, and they spend the entire day searching with no luck. Not finding them, which annoys Vegeta, he heads off to Capsule Corp. He's going to rest, get some training in, and then come back looking for them. Tien, Yamcha and Nappa all note how they haven't heard any explosions, or even heard any reports of cities or anyone being attacked. So it's possible maybe Cell was already absorbed the androids, but Tien and Yamcha brush this aside, saying how he didn't really seem complete. It's like he was missing something. And maybe they're hiding. They just don't know what the hell's going on. Trunks is the most confused. After all, the androids in his timeline wasted no time destroying the place. And now he can't find a single scuff mark on the planet. It's annoying to them. With everyone deciding to head back and get some rest, Tien and Yamcha head out to the lookout just to, calm down for the night. Whereas Vegeta, Nappa and Trunks all head to Capsule Corp. With everything going normal, no incidences overnight, nothing. Everyone gets some rest and the next day rolls around. The next day rolling around, they do have some hope in finding them. You see, Bulma had taken in any reports she could about any petty crimes, and actually got a sighting of 3 people, with one of them having a Red Ribbon Army logo on. This is a small bit of information and it could be nothing, but it's sort of the best lead they've got. After all, this could just be a surviving member of the Red Ribbon Army. They also know the general location they were last spotted, and they've found out that they're travelling by car, so they are going to stick to searching the main roads and anything around the latest spotted areas for the androids. However, they are still having a hard time with this. Trunks and Nappa do fill in Tien and Yamcha the plan, whereas Vegeta just heads off looking for them. Now, because of this, the androids are still going by pretty undetected. However, they did have almost a close call. The androids didn't know about it, but Vegeta was really close to them. If he was just a small bit more patient and waited for all the cars to come out of a tunnel, he would have seen two teenagers and a giant man using a truck to travel, but he didn't. With this happening, eventually 18 got bored. She makes 17 pull over and destroys the car, leading to them to have to fly the rest of the way, with this cutting their travel time down an awful lot. They eventually arrive at the lookout, where a still worried Chi-Chi and Krillin is, and upon seeing the androids, Krillin automatically takes a fighting stance. He jumps up to his max output and activates his Kaioken times 20. With him taking the fighting stance, like I said, this leads to the androids laughing, briefly, before 16 says how Son Goku isn't here either, which leads to the androids actually getting pretty fed up. Krillin's noticed this and drops down his guard quite a bit, saying how if they want to fight Goku, he'll be out here soon. But this confusing the likes of the androids. Why is Krillin telling them where the person they want to kill is? Krillin goes on to explain how Goku will be coming out of a room soon, much stronger. He's probably already strong enough to destroy you guys. So fighting him's kind of pointless. Alongside that, Tien, Vegeta, Trunks, Nappa, all of them are strong enough to defeat you. I'm trying to extend an offer here where you get to live. You don't need to die. You've done nothing wrong. Just live. Goku is going to be out of your league within a few hours. Everyone else is already out of your league. I'm the one person you can realistically kill. And you kill me, you're just going to piss everyone off. So listen, just take this offer. I will try my best to help you. But you have to let go of this fevered dream of killing Goku. With this being said, the androids are confused and ask why does Krillin want to help them. With Krillin explaining how he isn't too sure. It's a combination of things, he guesses. Kame had said that only petty crimes had been committed by you guys. Alongside that, we gave others a chance. With Piccolo it went wrong, but with the Saiyans it's going alright so far. And it's always good to have more allies than enemies. I suppose Goku's rubbed off on me in a way, and I want to give you all a second chance. After all, you were all stolen from what I can tell, and I want to give you all another chance at life, another chance to live on Earth. With this being said, the androids are beginning to drop their guard, but the arrival of Tien and Yamcha does put them back on edge. With the two seeing the androids, they strike the pose for the fusion dance, but Krillin shouts out for them to stop. He's trying to sort something out here. With the androids happy that they just stopped this, and also Tien and Yamcha are very confused. Krillin goes on to explain how, if you take this deal now with me, I can stop Vegeta from hurting you. He's on his way now. I can sense him. I don't know why you guys can't figure this out. Everyone now is stronger than you. Just trust me. 18 and 17 are really reluctant, but 16 does speak up, saying how he senses the presence of Vegeta, and it is incredibly strong. Alongside that, both Tien and Yamcha were strong as hell yesterday. However, they seem to be one fighter. With them confused at what's being said, obviously 16 had picked up the fight against Cell when the two fused, leading to him obviously keeping this data. With this being said, androids slowly begin to head over and take Krillin's offer. 18 is the first one, finding Krillin to be interesting and cute. However, Krillin doesn't take any of the advances 18 is laying out. Following his sister, 17 does agree, just not wanting to die. And finally, at 16, he's reluctant at first, and he wants to do what he was designed to do, kill Goku. But his instinct to, protect the planet does sort of override this. And Krillin says, if you want to try and kill Goku, when he comes out, he would love for you to fight him. So just do it then, and I'll show you how I'm right. With the android agreeing to this, Krillin has officially turned all of the androids, not good, but onto the right path. With Krillin looking towards Yamcha and Tien, who are just amazed right now, I'm going to ask why was he doing this, with him explaining how Kame had told him just the small things he had done. Alongside the fact that Krillin had been training with Goku for years, literally years, they have never stopped training with one another. And slowly over time, maybe Goku's ideals would have pushed onto Krillin a little bit. Not to the extent where everyone has to be saved, not everyone can turn good. But Krillin can now understand that when they might have a chance, he's going to try and push it. And it's sort of worked vice versa for Goku. Goku now understands not everyone deserves a second chance, and he's less willing to give it. Sort of like he is in canon before the Moro arc, but the same thing can be said about Yamcha. Yamcha probably shares this ideal to a lesser extent. The only Earthling who doesn't share this is Tien. Tien, I believe, just isn't willing to give him a chance. However, at the same time, maybe he would. I don't really know. I just don't think his morals would allow him to give an enemy a second chance if they were incredibly strong, like the androids are. But yeah, the androids are now on the side of the Z fighters. And with all of this being explained, Vegeta does arrive at the lookout, and after a quick scan of the nearby area, he spots the androids and is about to charge them. However, Krillin jumps out in front, explaining what has happened. With Vegeta about to push past Krillin, but the likes of Tien and Yamcha do stand next to the midget, with this showing the androids how they are actually willing to defend them. With this being done, Vegeta gets angry and is annoyed that the Earthlings are willing to step up to him like this. He's not as intimidating right now. The fusion dance gives them the edge over him actually, so the Earthlings are willing to stand up to him, and also to stand up for what they believe is right. After a few minutes, the likes of Nappa and Trunks shows up at the lookout as well, with them confused at what's happening, and really scared to see the androids. Well, Trunks is anyway. The Earthlings explain what happened to Nappa and Trunks, with the pair visibly confused, but once having everything explained to them, Nappa is not liking the idea of giving these people who hurt his nephew from another timeline a second chance. But Trunks does go on to say that it does make sense that these androids are different. This timeline has been so different. Realistically, I'm not changing anything from being here. At least with this training I got from you guys, I can defeat the androids in my timeline. But yeah, these aren't the same androids. These weren't the droids I were looking for. But he does thank Nappa for trying to defend him. Nappa giving his nephew sort of a hug, and the two look over to the androids. Nappa is willing to give the two a second chance, like he got, and he walks over to them, who are a bit scared at the sight of him, but he extends his hand, saying how he looks forward to getting to know them. With 16 shaking it, the two weirdly feel like they might get on. And this alliance is pretty much ensured by the fact that the Z fighters are just stronger than the androids right now. With everyone sticking around on the lookout for a few minutes, trying to get to know the androids. However, they're very defensive and very closed off right now, and eventually do give them space. The only person they are actually talking to is Krillin, and even then it's quite awkward. Eventually, Krillin does want to go and see his wife, and tells the three androids that will be leaving just briefly. He wants to go see his wife. It's been ages since he's seen her, so he flies off, explaining how Yamcha and Tien will look after them until he gets back, and Goku will be out soon. With them pretty unsure what he means, Krillin flies off, and Tien and Yamcha try talking to the androids, having a harder time. The one person who is actually talking quite happily to the androids is Nappa. Nappa is loving this. He's only really talking to 16, but the two do get on. After a while, about an hour or two, three power levels incredibly high appear out of nowhere, with this being the Sun family. Goku, Raditz, and Gohan all walk out. Goku comes out with a power level of 18 bill, and in Super Saiyan that's 900 bill. Raditz is exactly the same as his brother. And finally is Gohan, who comes out with a power level of 20 bill, and Super Saiyan that's a power level of 1 trill. The three walking out, Goku gets a hug from his wife, who pretty much takes him to the floor. Once leaving the room Goku was in, he comes across everyone outside. He sees the likes of Tien, Yamcha, Trunks, Nappa, and even in the distance you can see Vegeta, who looks like he's planning to leave. Goku guesses that they managed to defeat the android and is about to tell them well done, but as he turns the corner, he sees what apparently is the androids, according to the likes of Gohan and Raditz. Immediately, the Sun family takes a fighting stance, but soon hears Nappa explaining the whole story, with Goku happy to hear that Krillin gave them a second chance. Now he can have a sparring match with them, and he looks forward to this great. Krillin has made it into Goku's good books without a second thought. 16, who's over a distance away, confirms between the androids that what Krillin told them was the truth. Goku is now much out of their league. And after a few minutes of getting the rest of the story filled in, Goku welcomes the group. This is a bit awkward, with him saying that if they ever want to fight with him, just come round and have a fight. You know where I live. With Chi-Chi hitting Goku over the head, but he laughs it off. Chi-Chi isn't too happy with the idea of murderous androids knowing where they live. For a while, Goku sticks around and tries to get to know the androids a bit better. He's not one to shy away from new people, so I can imagine him trying to know a little bit more. Alongside this, Nappa is also trying, the Earthlings are trying, Gohan's trying, and Raditz is being a bit weird. Raditz is weirdly quiet for him, and the only time he really talked, he took a bit of a jab at 18. With her returning one, it seems a bit weird though. Goku brushes it off, his social skills aren't the greatest. But Chi-Chi picks up on this as sort of flirting between the two. Eventually Vegeta does leave, which makes Nappa and Trunks leave as well. And after a few more minutes, Goku and the rest of his family leave. Following along behind them, the androids don't really know what to do, with Tien and Yamcha offering to let them stay at Kame House just until they can figure out what they're doing. With them heading off to Kame House where they run into Krillin again. With Krillin saying hi to them, asking how was meeting Goku. 16 says you were telling the truth, blah 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 blah. They have a bit of a conversation, and the androids now get a full introduction to Snake, with Krillin learning about how he will be a father as well. And things here begin to line up a little bit like canon, and I'm going to jump right into the time skip, but first I want to cover some things. Now, first of all, Trunks heads back to his times and defeats the androids, with him not being as close with his father as he was in canon. He doesn't really say, goodbye like they did. It's more of a just a see you sort of thing. However, him and Nappa do have quite a nice goodbye with one another. Now, following this, a few months later, Krillin and Snake's baby girl is born, and for the sake of my headache, I'm just going to call her Marin again. However, Marin here is a bit different as she's blue for a start, so quite a bit older, with her not being too much younger than the likes of Trunks and Goten. With the duo slowly becoming a trio, Marin also will have some latent potential here. Not as much as her canon counterpart, because her mother isn't an android anymore, but I believe that Snake's race probably does have some latent potential. The reason I'm saying this is because I know we don't know what race Snake is. However, I see her quite similar to the likes of Bojack. I know some people put her closer to Zarbon, but to be honest, she's not necessarily too close to either. So, in my mind, she looks more like she would fit in with Bojack's crew, so that's my opinion on it. So I believe she would probably have some power that she could tap into later on. Alongside the fact that Krillin is a lot stronger, it just led to her being quite a good bit stronger. While we're speaking of Marrow, let's talk about her canon mother. And speaking of the androids, they have all begun to do their own things in life. 16 and 17, during the 7-year skip, became park rangers. 18 wasn't too interested in this though, and she stopped spending so much time around the pair, trying to find something to do, play time off. With her taking an interest in Raditz, like I said earlier. And we have to go back a bit earlier in the time skip to just see how these two really got to know each other. And during this time, for probably the first year of the time skip, the androids would live at Krillin's house. Not all the time, and they would kind of bum it out there, but for a large majority of the first year, they would live at Krillin's house. The reason this is, Krillin believed he was kind of responsible to look after them, so he took them in under his house. They didn't really cost much to feed, and 17 and 16 were quite useful. However, 18 and Snake always argued. 18 still sort of had a thing for Krillin, and it wasn't as big as in canon because she sort of has a thing for Raditz at the same time. But she wasn't afraid to jab around with Snake a little bit, and Snake didn't appreciate it, so she would tend to bite back. One positive that came out of this is that Snake would often kick 18 out and she would have to spend nights at other people's houses, with her often spending nights at Chi-Chi's house. Originally, Chi-Chi wasn't too keen on Android 18, but over time they slowly became good friends. And over this time, she also got to know Raditz, and Raditz and 18 got to know each other. I wouldn't say that they would fall straight in love, it would be more of a playground sort of romance where they were sort of jab at each other, making jokes, being quite arsey to one another. But I believe over time it would turn into something. And probably near the end of the time skip, let's say the 6 year mark, they would get married after being together for a little bit. They don't have kids right now, but it's not something they've really planned on. It's just the two are together now. Now, like I said, 17 and 16 have become park rangers, and occasionally they will go visit Goku and Gohan to get some sparring in. Now, speaking of the Saiyans, they have all unlocked Super Saiyan 2, except the likes of Goten and Trunks, who are probably stronger than their canon counterparts, and there's other reasons, and I'll jump into that in a minute. Now, all of them discovered Super Saiyan 2. I would argue that the first one to find it would be Goku or Raditz. Both had a better understanding of the Super Saiyan form, and they were also the strongest, and I probably believe that they would jump to it next. Gohan would also unlock it, however, Gohan is probably doing the same thing as he did in canon. I said in one of the last parts that the last time Gohan would truly train is preparation for the androids. Where this is true, he has sort of stopped training. His father does encourage him to keep up a little bit so he doesn't lose any power. Gohan is as strong as he was during the Android saga, which isn't an increase but is much better, plus he's got the Super Saiyan 2, so he kind of is stronger here. Now, like I mentioned with Trunks and Goten, they are a bit stronger. There's reasons for this. Goten is stronger because Raditz is around and also Goku is around, meaning that he's influenced by two pure-blooded Saiyans, and I believe the influence of even one would encourage the boy to train. So now having two, I believe he would be training a lot more. And the reason Trunks is stronger, not only is it because Goten is also stronger, but it's mostly because Nappa is around. Nappa is pushing Trunks to grow as strong as he possibly can, wanting to see the next generation of hybrids do well, with Trunks seeing Nappa as like his other grandfather. And during this time, Vegeta has mellowed out a little bit, not loads and nowhere near his canon counterpart. He's probably more comparable to his Android Saga counterpart in the Buu Saga, which isn't the best of things. But he's definitely on the way, and this is mostly because of Trunks, Nappa, and a little bit of help from Bulma. It slowly worked. However, every time he can sense Raditz is overtaking him, it does sort of kick down a level or two. Now, speaking of Vegeta and Nappa, I've pretty much covered most of what I wanted to say about them, but I feel like there is a few more things to say. Nappa doesn't get with anyone during this time. There is a reason, and I'll get into that briefly. And like I said for Vegeta, he has gotten much better as a person. Like I said, Android Saga, probably post Hyperbolic Time Chamber. He is pretty tolerable and not a complete and utter arrogant arsehole. Right, so the reason I haven't got Nappa with anyone, well, there's a reason for that. He's kind of old, and it's kind of hard to find of someone his age. I do have a plan though, and if you wait around a little bit longer in this video, you'll see who I'm thinking of. Now, the final few people I think I need to touch on are Gohan, Tien, and Yamcha. I've pretty much covered everything which happens with everyone else, but I'll give you a rundown of the people I feel like I might have missed. So Krillin has kept up with training, obviously, and he's also starting to teach Marin a few tricks. Raditz had gotten married and moved into a big city with 18, later on in the time skip. He works with Goku on a farm, which they opened a lot earlier, and they kind of good at it. Raditz is the much more sociable person and makes the better deals, whereas Goku is the harder worker. And let's jump into Gohan and Tien Yamcha. So first of all, Gohan. I've already given everyone a pretty good idea of how Gohan's 7 years went, but I want to talk about his time at Orange Star High School. First of all, the city is no longer Hercule City. So this is because Hercule isn't as big. He didn't save the world apparently, so the influence of Hercule isn't as strong. And this also leads to Videl not being as popular. She doesn't take fighting as seriously, and once the Great Saiyaman shows up, she doesn't pursue it as much. Gohan might not even need to change to the Great Saiyaman persona, he might just keep the Golden Warrior. And because of this, the lack of interest Videl would show towards Gohan would probably lead to the likes of Erasure getting Gohan in the end. So they would probably be considered somewhat of a couple, going into the tournament. Now, something about the tournament. I believe the tournament would still go through like normal. Keep in mind that Android 18 is alive here. Android 18 loves money. She knows she needs it, so she would enter it knowing that it would be an easy win. She would also convince her husband Raditz to join, and once Raditz joined, then others would join, following Goku, Vegeta, Nappa, Tien, Yamcha, Gohan would join just for fun. Krillin, even the kids would enter thinking they could fight the adults, but obviously the kids' division. But with this all set up, I have a few questions to ask. This is just sort of the outro to say goodbye to everything. So first of all, I brought it up briefly earlier, but would you like Marin's buffs to be as some sort of hybrid? I did sort of say earlier I could give her something a bit like Bojack's buffed up form. I know it's canonly stated as his full power. Well, it could just be some sort of transformation I give her. I could give her a mutation between the buffed up form from Master Roshi and Bojack. I could give her something a bit more reptilian like her mother. Or I could give her nothing at all, but what benefits should she had as a hybrid? Because we've seen naturally in other races that if a Earthling and one other race have a child, the hybrid tends to be incredibly strong. So what should I do with her? Secondly, I want to get Nappa with someone. Not for them to have kids or anything, just so he's got someone. But to do it, the person I have in mind, I have to sort of tweak the DB story. And I'm asking if people mind me doing this. It's only a small change and it's just getting rid of one minor detail. But I thought to ask, and if people want to see it, let me know. But there are my two questions. What should Marin's buffs as a hybrid be? And will people mind if I change the story a little bit? If everyone doesn't mind, that's all I'm covering. I hope everyone has a great day or a good night, and I'll see you next time.